Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. We're always looking for the most fascinating new trends, and today we're diving into how AI,
Absolutely.
and specifically ChatGPT, is tackling big environmental problems.
Okay.
We found this really interesting blog post written in Portuguese called ChatGPT Sustentabilidade, Soluções Ambientais e Mação.
Wow.
It's by Steves Jr., and it was published pretty recently on October 29th, 2024.
Okay, cool.
And we're going to translate all the Portuguese for you, don't worry.
Great.
We're going to uncover how this technology is
Yeah.
making a real impact. And I think you'll be surprised by some of the examples, because
Yeah.
it's not just predicting natural disasters or, wildfires, but it's also things like reducing waste
Okay.
in factories and that kind of thing.
It really is fascinating how AI is becoming less of a buzzword
Right.
and more of a tool for sustainability.
Yeah.
And this blog post that we're looking at really gets into the details of how we can actually apply it
Yeah.
to different sustainability problems.
Absolutely. And one thing that really struck me was this idea of using AI for waste reduction.
Yeah.
We hear all the time AI can analyze data.
Right.
But I'm curious, can you break down how that works in a factory?
Sure. So imagine you have a factory
Okay.
and it's fitted with all these sensors that are tracking how much water they're using, how much energy they're using.
Okay.
And then ChatGPT can actually analyze all that data with machine learning algorithms and pinpoint inefficiencies that we might miss.
Yeah.
So, for example, it might discover that a certain machine uses way too much water when it's running at night. And then using that knowledge, the factory could adjust their processes.
Wow.
And maybe run that machine at a different time of day.
Oh, interesting.
Or even invest in technology that's more water efficient.
So it's not just identifying a problem, but it's suggesting solutions.
Exactly.
Which I think is really helpful for businesses who are, obviously trying to be more sustainable.
Right.
But also are cost conscious as well.
Absolutely. And the blog post even gives you some specific prompts that you can use with ChatGPT to explore this further.
Okay.
So, for instance, one prompt that the author gives is, "Quais estrategias baseadas en IA podem ser implementadas para minimizar o uso excesivo de agua en fábricas?"
Okay.
Which basically translates to, what AI-based strategies can be implemented to minimize excessive water use in factories?
That's really cool. It's like having an AI consultant right in your pocket.
Right.
But this isn't just limited to factories, right?
No, not at all.
The post also talked about how AI can improve waste management even in big cities.
Yes, definitely.
So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so think about all the complexities of waste collection in a city.
Yeah.
I mean, you have so many variables to think about, like traffic patterns and population density and how many people are actually recycling.
Right.
AI can take all of that into account.
Yeah.
And optimize the routes that the garbage trucks take, or even predict when certain bins are going to be full.
Wow.
And they can even personalize recycling information to residents based on their habits.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So it's really making things more efficient and encouraging people to actually recycle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about working smarter, not harder.
Right.
And AI is kind of that key to unlocking that smarter way to work.
Yeah.
And the author of the blog post, he even asks ChatGPT, e te forma a inteligência artificial por aprimorar a gestão de resíduos sólidos em grandes cidades.
Okay.
Which basically means, how can artificial intelligence improve solid waste management in large cities?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And so I imagine that leads to some pretty innovative solutions.
Definitely.
It's like taking a smart home and scaling it up to an entire city.
Yeah.
But this post goes beyond just making things run smoothly, more efficiently. It also talks about using AI to actually predict and manage environmental disasters.
Absolutely. I think this is where AI's predictive power really shines.
Yeah.
Because by analyzing things like weather patterns, historical data, even real-time sensor readings from, the environment, ChatGPT can actually anticipate things like floods, droughts, and wildfires.
And that early warning can be really crucial
Absolutely.
for preparedness and response.
It could be life-saving.
Yeah.
Imagine knowing in advance which areas are going to be affected by a flood.
Right.
I mean, that allows for targeted evacuations.
Yeah.
And it really minimizes damage and saves lives.
And it seems like AI is giving us a whole new level of insight into these events that we've never had before.
Right.
Because before, we were always reacting.
Exactly.
And now we can be more proactive.
But moving from reactive to proactive.
Yeah.
And the blog post actually highlights this by giving specific prompts for ChatGPT. For example, one of the prompts is, como a inteligência artificial pode contribuir para a antecipação de desastres ambientais, which translates to, how can artificial intelligence contribute to the anticipation of environmental disasters?
That's a powerful question.
It is.
Because it's not just how can we respond after it happens.
Right.
It's how can we actually anticipate and potentially prevent these events from happening in the first place.
Yeah, it's really changing how we think about disaster management.
Yeah.
And the author takes it even a step further by asking ChatGPT for preventive measures.
Okay.
So one prompt is, ¿qué medidas preventivas pueden ser sugeridas por la IA para minimizar los daños de incendios florestais?
Wow.
Which means, what preventive measures can be suggested by AI to minimize damage from forest fires?
That's incredible to think we can use AI.
I know, it's amazing.
To get guidance on how to protect ourselves and our planet?
Yeah, it's really a new era of informed decision-making.
Yeah.
And we're just at the beginning.
It feels like we've covered so much already.
I know, right?
From waste reduction to resource optimization to predicting these events.
It's amazing.
But there's one more area from this post I want to be sure that we talk about.
Okay.
And that's this idea of using AI for environmental education.
Oh, that's a crucial one. It often gets overlooked.
Yeah.
How do we get people engaged and invested in sustainability?
Right.
That's where AI comes in.
I'm really curious to hear more. How can AI actually improve environmental education?
So think about all the information that's out there about sustainability.
Right.
I mean, you have recycling climate change, biodiversity loss.
It's a lot.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
AI can tailor that information to make it more engaging and more relevant to different audiences.
Okay.
So, for example, the blog post mentions using a prompt like, desenvolva conteúdo sobre sustentabilidade voltado para adolescentes, abordando los impactos do consumo de plástico, which means develop content on sustainability aimed at teenagers, addressing the impacts of plastic consumption.
So instead of, a boring generic lecture about the environment,
exactly,
you're giving teenagers information that's going to resonate with them?
Yeah, you meet them where they are.
Yeah.
And AI allows for that personalization.
Okay. And it's not just about creating content. It's about making it engaging.
Exactly. Making it fun, making it interactive.
Yeah.
That's how people get excited about learning.
Right. And the blog post even explored how AI can be used for educational campaigns in schools.
Yes.
So, for example, the author asks ChatGPT, ¿Cómo promover a reciclagem en escolas con campañas educativas baseadas en inteligencia artificial?
Wow.
Which means how to promote recycling in schools with educational campaigns based on artificial intelligence.
So imagine a campaign that uses AI to gamify recycling.
Oh, that's cool.
Maybe there's a virtual mascot that guides students through the process, or maybe a point system that rewards them for good recycling habits.
It turns it into something fun.
Exactly.
And interactive instead of just a lesson in a textbook.
Oh, got it.
It makes it part of their everyday life.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've seen how AI can optimize resources, predict these disasters.
Yeah.
Even personalize education, but there's even more to uncover.
Absolutely.
So stay tuned as we continue our deep dive into AI and sustainability.
Can't wait.
We'll be right back after a quick break.
Sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive into AI and sustainability.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how AI is already making a difference, but this blog post we're talking about hinted at even more applications.
It did.
So I'm really excited to dive into those.
Yeah, the possibilities are really vast.
Yeah.
But what stood out to me the most were the sections on eco-design.
Okay.
And biodiversity.
Interesting.
I think AI can have some really transformative solutions in these areas.
Let's start with eco-design.
Okay.
It's a concept that's getting more popular, but I'm not sure I fully understand it. How can AI contribute to making more sustainable products?
So imagine being able to analyze the entire life cycle of a product.
Okay.
From the raw materials to the manufacturing, the use, and even the disposal.
Wow, the whole thing.
AI can do that.
Wow.
It can identify areas in each of those stages where the environmental impact can be minimized.
So it's not just about the product itself, it's about how it's made, how it's used, how it's disposed of.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach
to
sustainability.
That's cool. I hadn't really thought about it like that before.
Yeah, and for instance, AI can analyze the materials being used and suggest alternatives that might have a lower carbon footprint or be easier to recycle.
So it's like having an AI sustainability expert.
Exactly.
Guiding the design process from the very beginning.
Exactly.
That's really cool. I imagine that would lead to some pretty innovative products.
It would, and the blog post even talked about using ChatGPT to explore ways to use more recycled content in products. So the author asked, ¿Cómo usar ChatGPT para encontrar maneras innovadoras de usar materias recicladas en productos? Which means how to use ChatGPT to find innovative ways to use recycled materials in products.
That's a great question.
It is, and it could really change things for industries like fashion and packaging.
Right, where there's a lot of waste.
Exactly.
That's really cool. I love this idea of reducing our reliance on virgin materials. And creating a more circular economy.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, let's move on to biodiversity. It's another area where we hear a lot about the problems like biodiversity loss.
We do.
But it's such a complex issue.
It is.
So how can AI help with something like that?
Well, the biggest challenge with protecting biodiversity is just the amount of data. I mean, we're talking about millions of species and huge ecosystems and the impacts of climate change.
It's overwhelming.
It really is. But AI can help us make sense of it all.
So it's like using AI to go through those massive data sets and find the important insights.
Exactly. And it can identify areas with high biodiversity value that are facing the biggest threats.
Wow.
It can even help model the impacts of different conservation strategies.
So it's helping conservationists focus their efforts on what's most important.
Exactly. And the blog post even looks at how AI can be used to fight illegal activities that threaten biodiversity.
Like what?
So the author asks, ¿Cómo a IA puede ser usada para combatir a exploración maderera ilegal y a caza furtiva? Which means, how can AI be used to combat illegal logging and wildlife poaching?
That's a big problem.
It is. And AI can analyze things like satellite imagery to detect signs of illegal logging.
Oh, wow.
It can track poachers and even predict where these activities might happen.
So it's giving law enforcement a powerful new tool
to
protect these endangered species.
Yeah, it's really changing the game for conservation.
So we've seen AI being used for so much good, but it's important to remember that it's a tool.
It is.
And like any tool, it can be used in different ways.
Right. We have to be mindful of potential biases in the data, and we have to be transparent about how we're using it, and always prioritize ethical considerations.
Because the technology itself is neutral.
It is.
It's how we use it that determines whether it has a positive or negative impact.
Exactly.
But this conversation has really highlighted how much potential AI has.
It has.
To solve some of these really big sustainability problems that we face.
It's exciting.
Yeah, and we're just getting started.
I know the field is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
And who knows what's next.
It's true. This deep dive has been really eye-opening.
It has.
But before we wrap things up,
yeah,
there's one more area from this blog post that I want to explore.
Okay.
And that's the role of AI in promoting corporate sustainability and transparency.
Well, that's an important one.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because consumers are demanding more and more from the companies that they buy from.
Absolutely.
And so how can AI help companies become more transparent about their environmental impact?
Well, one of the main things is sustainability reports.
Okay.
Traditionally, those involve a lot of manual work, gathering data, analyzing it.
Yeah.
It's time-consuming and it's expensive.
Right.
But AI can really streamline that whole process.
So AI can track their environmental impact and then communicate that information to their stakeholders.
Yeah, in a way that's clear and easy to understand.
Okay, and the blog post had some specific prompts for this too.
It did.
For example, the author asks, ¿Cómo elaborar relatorio de sustentabilidad accesible usando a IA?
Okay.
Which means how to prepare an accessible sustainability report using AI.
It could revolutionize how companies report on their sustainability efforts.
That's really cool. And I can see how that would build trust.
Absolutely.
With consumers and investors and even regulators.
It's about moving beyond vague claims and greenwashing and providing concrete data.
So it's really about holding businesses accountable.
It is.
For their environmental impact.
It is, and it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Companies get to improve their efficiency and their reputation.
Yeah.
And everyone benefits from a more sustainable business landscape.
Okay, so we've covered a lot in this deep dive.
We have.
From waste reduction to disaster prediction to eco-design to corporate transparency.
Yeah.
It's clear that AI has a huge role to play.
It does.
In creating a more sustainable future.
A more sustainable future for everyone.
But before we wrap up, I want to shift our focus a little bit to an individual listener.
All right.
Not everyone is a scientist or a policymaker or a tech expert.
Right.
So how can the average person contribute to this movement of using AI for sustainability?
That's a great question. And, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by these big, complex problems.
Yeah.
But there are things that individuals can do.
Like what?
Well, it all starts with education. The more you understand about AI and its potential, the better equipped you'll be to advocate for responsible development.
So knowledge is power.
It really is in this case.
Okay, so beyond learning more, what are some concrete things that people can do?
Well, one of the most important things is to support companies that are using AI for good.
Okay.
Choose products and services from businesses that are committed to sustainability.
So vote with your wallet.
Exactly.
And reward the companies that are doing the right things.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of your voice. Talk to your friends and family about these issues. Share what you've learned.
So it's about raising awareness.
It is. The more we talk about it,
the
more likely we are to see real change.
And you don't have to be a tech expert.
No, not at all.
To make a difference.
Everyone has a role to play.
That's a good point.
And AI can help us all.
This deep dive has been really inspiring.
It has been.
It's given me a whole new perspective on what AI can do to solve these problems. Me too. And it's made me think about how I can contribute to a more sustainable future.
That's great to hear.
And it's been great talking with you about this.
Likewise.
But I think it's time that we wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Okay, sounds good.
It's really encouraging to see how companies are using AI not just to be more sustainable, but also to be more open about it.
Yeah, transparency is so important these days.
Yeah, it seems like a big shift in how businesses think about environmental responsibility.
Absolutely. Consumers, investors, regulators, they're all demanding more accountability.
Right.
And AI can really help companies deliver on that.
And this blog post by Steves Jr. also talks about how AI can help individuals make a difference.
Yeah, that's something we touched on earlier, but it's worth exploring a little more.
Yeah, I agree. We've talked about the big picture, the big applications.
Yeah.
But I want to bring it back to the average person.
Okay.
How can we as individuals leverage AI to live more sustainably?
Well, I think one of the most exciting things about AI is that it's accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
You don't need to be, a tech expert or have a degree in data science to use these tools.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, for example. Anyone with an internet connection can use it.
So how can we use it to actually make a difference in our own lives?
Well, think about all the choices you make every day.
Yeah.
What you buy, how you get around, what you eat.
Right.
AI can help you make more informed decisions about all of those things.
Can you give me some specific examples?
Sure. Let's say you're trying to reduce your carbon footprint.
Okay.
You could ask ChatGPT to analyze your weekly grocery list and suggest swaps for more sustainable options. Or you could use it to compare the environmental impact of driving versus taking public transportation for the commute.
It's like having a personal AI sustainability coach right there in your pocket.
Exactly.
Helping you make better choices throughout the day.
And it goes beyond personal choices, too. Yeah. You can use AI to research companies and their sustainability practices.
Okay.
You can even use it to write letters to your elected officials.
Wow.
Advocating for policies that protect the environment.
So AI can actually empower us to get more involved.
Absolutely.
In, civic engagement.
It can. And don't underestimate the power of talking about these issues with your friends and family. The more we raise awareness, the more likely we are to see real change happen.
This deep dive has been amazing.
It has.
It's really opened my eyes to the possibilities of AI.
Yeah.
And how we can use it to create a better future.
It's inspiring, right?
It really is, and it's been great talking with you about it.
It's been my pleasure.
This blog post by Steves Jr. is a fantastic example.
It is.
Of how we can start thinking more creatively about these issues.
Yeah, how technology and sustainability can work together.
It's given us all a lot to think about.
It has.
And hopefully inspired our listeners to take action.
I hope so.
So as we wrap up this final episode of our deep dive, I want to leave everyone with a challenge.
Okay.
We've talked about how AI can be used to address global challenges. But now I challenge you to bring it closer to home.
Okay.
Think about an environmental problem that you care about in your own community.
Right.
It could be anything reducing plastic waste, protecting local green spaces. Now ask yourself, how could AI be used to solve that problem?
Yeah.
What questions could you ask ChatGPT to get some insight or explore potential solutions?
That's a good question.
And how could you use what you learn to make a difference?
Yeah, take action.
In your own neighborhood.
Make a difference.
It's about taking the inspiration and knowledge we've talked about today and actually doing something with it.
Exactly. Even small changes can make a difference.
That's right. The future is in our hands.
Yeah.
And AI can help us get there if we use it wisely.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into AI and sustainability.
It's been fun.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing for a better world for everyone.